Okay, I'm live as I promised, and I said around 11 o'clock just because I know how it goes for real estate. I know that I had a couple of fires to put out with the attorney that I work with. So, anyways, I'm gonna go straight. I'm gonna jump right into the 10 buyer mistakes to avoid. Hi, I don't know if this is Xavier or Michelle. So, if you guys have any questions during the live, let me know and I'll try to help you as much as possible. It shouldn't be more than like 15 minutes. Well, it can't be more than 15 minutes because I have a coaching call at 11:30 a.m. Okay, so buying a home, you guys know that buying a home is actually one of the biggest investments that you'll ever make. And you want to make sure that you avoid some of the home buying mistakes. Okay, you're buying a home, let's say 300,000. Unless you have $300,000 in your account, it's huge. So you want to make sure that you work with professionals. I mean, there's a bunch of things that I'm going to talk about in this video, and it's kind of random. It's just because, I have those all the time. I see people doing those mistakes all the time, and I want to help you guys out to make sure that you guys don't repeat the same mistakes. Okay, 10 buyer mistakes to avoid. Number one, if you want to look at a home before being pre-approved, it's not good. Okay, I don't even know why you would want to do that. Think about it. If you go shopping, you want to know how much you can afford, right? No matter what you do, you want to go on a trip, you want to go on vacation, you want to know what you can afford. Like, why would you start looking at a bunch of homes that you don't even know if you can afford them? I don't know why people keep doing that. I guess, there's people that love looking at homes. I mean, if you really do like just taking a look at homes, I would tell you to just go to open houses or watch $1 Million Listing or just get freaking, I don't know, get like a home magazine and look at homes. Don't waste people's time when it comes to that. Okay? I just don't get it. I'm actually looking at notes because I wrote these down. You might also, another reason why you don't want to do that is because you might find a home that you really like. You might love it, and then let's say it's, for example, 500,000, and then you go and get your pre-approval, and you only pre-approve for 300,000. So, you get disappointed. I see that Dan Rosenberg joined. I hope that you can answer the message I sent you. You might fall in love, you might get disappointed, or you might realize that, you know what, like, I really like it, but because now your budget changes, you have to go in a totally, completely different neighborhood, and it changes everything. And also, unless you're a cash buyer, and even if you're a cash buyer, realtors or even listing agents are going to want to look at proof of funds. They want to make sure that people that are coming to the home are either pre-approved or have a proof of fund, okay? You don't want to waste people's time. Number two, okay, a mistake to avoid, thinking that dealing directly with the listing agent, again, as a buyer, will save you either time or money or whatnot. A lot of people are like, yeah, I don't need a realtor. I can just go on Zillow and I can just, anyways, that just answered me. So people are like, hey, I can just go on Zillow and just call the listing agent directly or whatnot. So remember, two things to remember. Working with a realtor when you're buying a home is free. You don't have to pay them a penny. Like, we drive you around, we do our job, we do the consultation, we do everything, and you don't have to pay us. It's awesome, right? And keep that in mind. When you go directly to the listing agent, if you want to be those people that are like, hey, let me just call all the listing agents and whatnot. The listing agent is a listing agent because they signed an agreement with the seller. They're representing the listing. They have to be, they have a relationship with the seller. They've worked with the sellers, they might have been recommended to the seller. They have a relationship, okay? So a relationship means that they have some kind, I'm not gonna say that they have loyalty, but they have a relationship, they build that relationship, now they're bringing them a buyer and whatnot. Don't you wanna have that relationship with someone who already vowed to represent you? Because keep in mind, the listing agent was initially and has a relationship with the seller. So when you have your own agent, the person can represent you, you can have that relationship with your buyer's agent, with the agent that you're working with. So that person's gonna have your back, go hard for you and whatnot. Some people think that they can save money. Not necessarily. Maybe you could. If there's a whole cutting commission thing, which I think is absolutely unbelievable when people do that, but you wanna be represented to the fullest. Again, you don't have to pay your realtor. Okay, you wanna make sure that you work with someone that you trust. Meeting someone just like that, they might tell you, I'll make you a deal and everything, but they might do you trust them? Do you know them? Do you have a relationship with them? No, you don't, and your realtor knows your needs. Okay. Yeah, if you don't know how to find a realtor, if you're buying a home, look online. The best way to find a realtor is to ask for recommendations to friends, to family members, coworkers who used a realtor and were happy with the results. And another good thing is you want to make sure that you read reviews. I can't even stress that enough. There's people that, they just go with a realtor and then like midway, they're like, whoops, I shouldn't have went with them. They don't care about their buyers. There are more listings. Like there's different things. So you want to make sure that you read reviews, and your realtor will save you time, will, go fight hard for you. That's what happens when you have a relationship with someone. Okay. Number 3 mistake to avoid: not connecting with a real estate attorney either before or during your transaction. Guys, this is huge, 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 huge. Okay. The reason I'm late on the live is because I was on the phone with a realtor with a real estate attorney that I work with, and we were dealing with a huge issue. Okay. Some people say, hey, I don't want to work with an attorney. It's cheaper to work with a title company. It could be cheaper to work with a title company, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have a real estate attorney connection. You want to make sure that, you want to make sure that you know a real estate attorney, that you've talked to them, that at least you've been introduced to one of them, just because anything can happen during the transaction. Oh my God, I have so many examples to give you. If you're working with a title company and you don't have any relationship with an attorney, for example, if anything happens during the transaction, you're going to have to go and hire an attorney and look for an attorney during the transaction. You're already stressed out with the transaction. You're already like, oh my God, like this thing came up, this crazy thing came up, for example, non-performance. All of a sudden the people want to back out. We're out of, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Then you have to look for an attorney, interview an attorney, tell your attorney the entire situation and everything. It can be really stressful. So it's very important that you at least know an attorney or introduced to one, because if anything happens, you can just call them up or email them and be like, listen, this is the situation. You don't have to, start interviewing a bunch of attorneys, okay? You may need legal help. You may need legal representation. So you want to make sure that, just to avoid any trouble, you might not even need to use them for legal representation or whatnot during the transaction, but you want to make sure that you at least know a real estate attorney. I can't even stress the importance of that. Like just this year, I've had probably like 4 or 5 situations where I was like, oh my God, like we're going to need an attorney for that. Okay. And also if you need explanations of the contract and all of that, the attorney can help you. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Okay, I'm back. Okay, number 4 mistake to avoid: when people are like, oh, I'm going to wait for the market. I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait for that. I'm going to wait. Okay, so the market, you can't time the market. We can't time what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. The timing to buy a home is your timing, okay? You decide when you want to buy the home. Oh, I'm going to wait for the interest rates to go down. I'm going to wait on this. No, you wait until you're ready to buy your home, and then you make the move. Don't wait for the market, okay? The market is unpredictable. Interest rates are unpredictable. They go up, they go down, they fluctuate. It happens. Sometimes a fluctuation of like 0.25 in an interest rate is gonna be like a $5 difference on it's not that big of a deal, okay? Signs that you're ready to buy a home, okay? When do you know when the timing is right? Not the market, again, your timing. You have savings. You have good credit, I would say over 650 or at least over 600. Of course, we can work with you. You know that it's time. For example, you might be pregnant, you might have a baby, you might want to start a family, you might be getting married. Another thing is, you might want to downsize. You were in a big house, you're where the kids grew up in, and then you want a smaller house, or you have a smaller house and you want a bigger house, Or a huge reason is that you're tired of renting. So this is huge. Some people, they pay rent for years and years, and they're like, you know what, I'm tired of giving $3,000 to an owner. Okay, so, if you're renting, and also when it comes to timing, when it comes to renting, you want to make sure that you don't wait until the last minute to be like, okay, I'm going to buy a home. I'm not going to renew my lease like 2 weeks before your lease is up. No, you need to start the process as early as possible. Even if you're thinking, not just renting or whatever it is, even if you're thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe now's the time for me to buy a home. What you do is that you do your research. You start doing your research like as early as possible. That way, you're going through the process super educated. You're going through the process knowing what you're doing, knowing how much money to have. You know, everything is going to be good to go. You're going to be less stressed out. So the earlier the better. And if you're renting, you need to start the process at least 90 days before the end of your lease, because you have to give a 60-day minimum notice to the owner, to the property management company or whatnot, that you're not going to be renewing your lease. Because if you don't do that, you might get a penalty. And a penalty can be sometimes even up to 2 months of rent just for breaking your lease. And then sometimes when people do that, they're like, oh, finally, I'm not going to buy now. I'm just going to wait until next year. So don't do that. Make sure that the earlier the better. Don't wait for the market to tell you when to buy a home, okay? And also what you can do, you can consult with a real estate agent. Again, all complimentary. Like, I'll sit down with you guys. I'll talk on the phone with you guys to let you guys know what to do and how to get prepared, okay? So that was number 4. Number 5 is, if you need to sell before, let's say you need to sell your home before buying a new one, one of the mistakes is, thinking that you need to close on your property before starting to look for another property. That's not necessarily true. I mean, unless you have another property to go in between the limbo or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like, there's like the limbo period of, let's say you sold your home and then you're gonna buy a new one. If you have like this condo or family that you can stay over, great. But then don't forget, you have to put all your stuff in storage. So usually what I tell people is that I can help you do both. I can help you sell and buy a home, and you don't have to wait until you close on your new home to start looking, okay? I've done this so many times. Make sure that you also work with a realtor. If that's something you wanna do, if you're willing to, go and buy your home, do like a double closing, so you're closing on the property that you sold and closing on your new property, you want to make sure that you work with a realtor who's done that before, and that you want to make sure that your lender and attorney, whoever you work with, are on top of it. Okay, so I've done this a few times, totally used to it, love doing it actually. It's a little bit stressful because there's a lot going on, but it's totally worth it because then you're done. So how do you do that is that the moment you put your home on the market, depending on the price point or whatnot, we start looking at homes. But then we only make sure that we wait until you're under contract to put an offer on a home. So usually you'll see how the market is going. You'll see the activities on your home. You'll see like approximately how long it's going to take before it sells. So, again, once you're under contract for your home that you're selling, that's when you start looking into getting under contract at the home that you're going to be buying as well. And we try to coordinate the closing at the same time. So we use either the same title company or title attorney. Usually it's even better, the ones selling your home, you use them for the seller docs, and then you also use them for buyer representation. That way the attorney is in the loop, the attorney knows what's going on. Okay, so you don't have to wait until your house is sold to start looking for another home. Number 6, biggest mistake, wanting to look at a house you can't afford. So that kind of goes back with number 1. But I have people that are pre-approved, they're pre-approved for a certain amount. We already narrowed everything down, and then they keep wanting to look at homes that are like way over what they can afford. So usually I'll be like, oh, so you must have cash to pay for the difference, right? Because if it's 150 grand more, they're like, oh, maybe they can go down, maybe we can negotiate. Yeah, maybe we can, but technically we need to stay within budget, because it's just gonna lead to a lot of disappointments. It's just gonna be annoying. And even if you do have cash in the bank, it's sometimes better to even look closer to your budget, just because there might be repairs you need to make, there might be some renovations you want to do to the new house and whatnot. You don't want to go over budget. And also you want to make sure that you stay within the same lifestyle. You don't want to have a completely different lifestyle, like you can't go out to eat, you can't travel anymore, just because you bought an expensive home that you can't afford. You don't want to do that, okay? Number 7 biggest mistake that buyers make is waiting for the unicorn. Right? Like that perfect house that fits every need. Like you had a list of like 15 things and the house has to like have those 15 things. It doesn't exist, guys. It doesn't happen. A house has to have at least, I tell my buyers usually 80% of what you're looking for, and the 20% are things that you can adjust over time, okay? make sure that you keep the money for the repairs and everything. Like we spoke about that before, but guys, you have to remember that if you wanted like a brand new house with like brand new bathrooms, if the bathrooms are not that as new and other, you know, the rest of the house, the location, everything fits your criteria, you can renovate the bathrooms eventually. It's not the end of the world. If there's no pool, like you wanted a house with a pool, you can build a pool later on. Like it's not always, a house is not always gonna fit exactly what you're looking for, or exactly what you need. And you know what? That's okay. That's fine. It's like totally, totally, totally perfect. It happens. But you have to keep in mind that no house is going to be a unicorn. You're not going to have a unicorn. You're not going to find that. Your realtor is going to do your best to help you find a house that fits as many of your, you know, as many of the things that you have on your little checklist. But if you're just waiting for the perfect house, you might miss out on amazing opportunities, or on houses that, you know, might not fit exactly what you're looking for, but you can improve them in the future. You don't want to miss out on that just because you're looking for the unicorn. Okay? So number 9, most important thing is, you know, when it comes to lending, a lot of people think that they absolutely need to put 20% down. You don't. Even for a conventional mortgage, in Florida, you can put as low as 3.5%, and there's even a program right now which, you know, where you can get 100% financing, but your credit has to be 660. If you have any questions about that, let me know. But anyways, people miscalculate, you know, how much they need for a down payment, how much money they need for repairs, or some people are like, oh, you know, maybe I should just give 20% down. That way I don't have to pay mortgage insurance. But keep in mind, when you buy a home, it's very expensive. You have a lot of closing costs. You might have to do repairs. You might have to change the AC. You might have to do a lot of things, and just moving is really expensive. So you want to make sure that you have some cash in the bank, and that you don't want to use all of your savings to, you know, just to put 20% down. If you can do that, if you have like way more savings and you can put 20% down, it's fine. You know what I mean? Okay, my live just died on Instagram, so I'm just on Facebook now. Yeah, so don't forget that there's title fees, there's closing fees, there's all of that. So, and then number 10 is, biggest mistake to avoid is getting distracted by little things. Guys, if there's a little scratch, if there's an outlet that's not working, guys, don't freak out. It's normal. No house is exactly perfect, even new construction homes, right? Don't get buyer's remorse. Everyone's going to get by, oh my God, maybe I shouldn't have bought a home. Just remember what your goal was. Your goal was to purchase a property by this date, and for your family, for whatever reason. So don't let little things freak you out. This is why you want to work with professionals throughout the entire transaction. You don't want to work with a realtor that's kind of like doing it part-time, who's not really doing it, because you're going to freak out, they're going to freak out. You want to work with a seasoned lender who can explain things to you. Because, at the end of the day, the lending part of it is one of the most important. You want to make sure you work with an attorney, someone that can advise you if anything comes up that's crazy. So when you work with professionals, we're going to hold your hand, but we're going to advise you as well. So you don't need to freak out over little things. Okay, and just a bonus mistake to avoid is to not, thinking that a cheap property doesn't have high fees. So I have people that are like, oh, I'm going to buy this cheap condo. Guess what? The HOA dues are going to be like $600 a month. And when the HOA is $600 a month, do the difference. Maybe you can buy a more expensive condo with lower HOAs, but that more expensive condo is actually going to, gain maybe more value over time or whatnot. Do the numbers with your realtor. Cheaper property doesn't mean cheaper fees. Okay? If you guys have any questions about that, let me know. You guys can always schedule some time with me, a free consultation with me on calendly.com/Sarah Desamores. I'll put the link on top. Let me know if you guys have any buyer questions. I help Canadians, I help foreign people, I help people in Miami, first-time home buyers, luxury buyers. We do it all. Have a good day. Bye.